everyone. Welcome. This is Vegas City Opera. We are thrilled to be here at the West Las Vegas Library, and this is our Women of the Black Panthers show. So this show is part of our Voices of Women series. We like to celebrate inspiring and important women in our history, as well as engage in important topics of conversation for today's world. Today's show is a brand new work written by Dr. Richard L. Hodges. He also curated the music in this show, and this music is all written by Black American composers, and it's absolutely beautiful, so we're excited to bring that out into the canon. Dr. Richard L. Hodges also wrote a piece for the show, and you'll hear its premiere today, Be Proud. The title sponsor for today's event is the League of Women Voters of Southern Nevada, and they've sent me a statement to read about their values and their mission. The League of Women Voters just celebrated their 101-year anniversary on February 14th, 2021. They have been a nonpartisan, activist, grassroots organization that believes voters should play a critical role in democracy. Their mission is empowering voters and defending democracy. Their vision is a democracy where every person has the desire, the right, the knowledge, and the confidence to participate. Their values are that they believe in the power of women to create a more perfect democracy. They continue to support uplifting women's stories and voices in as many ways as possible. The Vegas City Opera's Voices of Women concert series aligns perfectly with the League's commitment to telling the stories of all women, so they are proud to be a sponsor. They hope everyone will have an inspiring afternoon. Thank you all for coming. We hope you enjoy the show.
Women of the Black Panthers.
Many think they know our story, but they don't.
So we had no choice but to be strong. Now the Panthers often theorized about the importance for a strong manhood, but they did not contradict that with descriptions of a dismissive womanhood.
That means I could be whatever I needed to be. I could be a leader like
Before 1967 there were no...
Or chairman like Elaine Brown. My role and voice are important to the movement.
But before 1967, there were no women represented in the Black Panthers. The first women to arrive were Tarika Lewis and Ellender Barnes. Their arrival would change everything and spark the rise and evolution of women in the Black Panthers. There was only one issue: the current women's role in society.
To polish and shine that fades as mine. To clean, 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 silver, old and lean. To cook and scrub, rub-a-dub-dub, 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 rub-a-dub-dub. Hurry, hurry, hurry.
And hurry up is right. Black women were only seen as servants.
Or the help.
See, something most people don't know is that the Black Panther movement was a diverse collection of organizations, activists, and ideas, right? It included everything from political to nationalist ideas, and no matter the different variations of the movement, activists from across the globe were united in support of the central pillars of Black power.
Yeah, black community control.
Black self-determination and black self-defense.
These principles were supported throughout the years, but they were broadly defined. Black self-defense is difficult to discuss because it's hard living here at times. With all the assaults from police and the government, what happened to our Second Amendment rights?
Black Panthers were armed and people were scared. Why? I mean, one of the pillars that the Black Panthers stood on was that we believe that black people should not be forced to fight in the military service to defend a racist government that did not protect us. We also called for the immediate end to police brutality and the murder of black people.
But what has really changed today? We continue to fight for the idea of freedom and what that means. How can we move forward when we are continually being shown that we are less than others?
Peaceful protests turn into death and incarceration.
Many of the things that the women fought for then are still important today. Their legacy hasn't died, it continues on.
For you, there is no song, only the shaking of the voice that meant to sing, the sound of the strong voice breaking. Strange in my hand appears the pen, and yours broken. There are ink and tears on the page.
One thing that was really important to the women of the movement is creating community organizations that were really successful. Some of those organizations were the Free Breakfast for School Children program and the Liberation Schools and the Free People's Medical Centers. These organizations lasted long after the movement was over. These women sparked cultural change in our communities. Sometimes it's the dreams of others that ignite us to continue working long after they're here.
victim of our own history. We all are. And the women are chauvinists too, in the sense that many of us, had to be retrained to rethink who we are. We never discussed gender roles, however, like what does a woman do? Do women cook or do men cook? Well, although, it got to a point where some women did believe that it might have been their job to cook, except when we started our free breakfast program. And everybody, because it was a paramilitary structure, basically took orders. And so if you were ordered to work in the free breakfast program, well, that's what you did. You woke up in the morning and you cooked breakfast for children.
It's clear that the women of the movement could be whatever they needed to be. It could be said that the women of the Black Panther Party were feminists.
Well, one of our founders, Huey Newton, wrote an open letter in 1970 pushing for the organization to express explicit support for the women's liberation movement.
I know, he even showed tolerance for the gay liberation movement as well.
Newton's forward-thinking letter is what made the party a transformative, inspirational, and organizational space. It allowed women the ability to truly live and to discover their own goals, wishes, and aspirations.
The organization was a place of uplift and support. Although it took some time for everybody to accept all aspects of inclusion, the Panther Party really had a progressive view on women and gender. It is important to know who we are, what we have to offer, and how we can be a light to others.
So what else would we ask of these women? They were holding down the organization, helping to change the community by promoting the Black agenda. But that is where the government got it all wrong. While the Panthers attempted to redefine gender roles, the federal government took a more traditional understanding in their campaign to eliminate the party. Under the direction of FBI leader J. Edgar Hoover, the federal and state law enforcement campaigned to destroy the party using the counterintelligence program entitled Cointelpro. And by 1969, there were significant resources dedicated to infiltrating party chapters, jailing Panther leaders on false charges, and engaging in violent attacks against multiple chapter headquarters.
Yeah, well, we entered state-sponsored violence, surveillance, and intimidation. But what was interesting is that law enforcement officials adhered to gendered assumptions when it came to determining their targets. So state and federal government Cointelpro programs targeted Panther men, assuming that they were the leaders of the organization.
But little did they know that women were integral to the daily work of managing the party. The women of the movement continued to stay focused on their dreams.
To claim my own
wrong. The Panther women faced frequent harassment on the streets that they called home. It was difficult work to create the conditions that led to the rise of the Panther Party and its transformation into a mass movement. And although that happened, it seemed that a lot of the women were still harassed on those streets, but that doesn't matter because many of the members made sure that their efforts were felt in all of those local organizations, despite any and all state-sponsored political oppression that they faced.
But it was the careful attention to how gender was constructed that helped shape one of the most popular and powerful groups of the Black Power era, one incident at a time.
Have arrived right on. I am the new Negro. I have arrived, I am the result of President Lincoln and Paris. The Red Bull Express. What? Drinking fountains, sit-downs, and sit-ins. Federal troops. Marches on Washington. And prayer meetings. Today, they hired me. It is a status job. Along with my papers, they gave me my status symbol. The key to the White Act. John.
At its biggest, the Black Panther Party had over 2,000 registered members working all over the country. They were inspiring their communities and breathing new life into the Black agenda.
As the government began to target the movement, it became harder for it to continue on, but during its golden days, it was a symbol of hope and pride that so many needed throughout many communities. The city of gold lies in our hearts. Golden days, golden
killed. Fred Hampton and Mark Clark were gunned down in their Chicago home when they were sleeping. So much of history continues to repeat itself today. That's why the movement is so important. It was to uplift the culture. Many of its members were forced underground because the FBI was threatened by the organization. The women remained strong and supported the organization until it dissolved. All the Panthers wanted was land, bread, clothing, education, justice, and peace. These are the pillars that support the survival of any culture and its beliefs throughout society.
Shout out to Breonna Taylor!
mothers, it's our sons, it's our daughters, it's our brothers, and it's our sisters. It is every one of us who believes that we should all be equal.
But it's about community. We all have to learn to love, nurture, care, and respect one another, even in our differences.
And when we do that, we will see that the Black Panther Party served as a shining light and beacon of hope for people of color. The same morals, dreams, and hopes can be echoed throughout society today. So, we are not just your friends.
We are not just your mothers.
We are not just your sisters.
We are not just leaders. We
We are the women of the Black Panther Party.
He might be able to hear us in South Carolina, but thank you, Richard, for your beautiful show and music. Thank you to Brian and the staff and crew at West Las Vegas Library. Thank you, Studio Kurcan, for making this look amazing. Thank you to all of our volunteers, and most of all, thank you for coming out, and thank you to our phenomenal cast. We very much appreciate you spending your afternoon with us. Go home, be safe, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.